Hi guys, Aaron Dorr here, policy advisor with the Missouri Firearms Coalition. As the gun-grabbing crowd across the state and across the country gets ever more fired up, their constant refrain is if we just had some complete background checks, if we just had a process to vet every gun owner, everything would be okay. And what's the problem with that? And a lot of times gun owners fall prey to the false guilt manipulation, especially after a mass shooting, and they may be tempted to think, well, we could give them a little bit. We could give them universal background checks. This, of course, has been being pushed in Missouri for years by Representative Stacey Newman, Representatives Peter Meredith, and people like that. And it's being sold to you as some kind of a magical way to just simply stop all violent crime. The truth is, the facts are radically different. This video is for you and for anybody that wants to get the facts on what exactly have background checks done to stop violent crime over the last, say, 10 years in America. And this article will be posted on our website, so you can see it and all the supporting documentation there anytime you want. But in just the last 10 years, all of the following mass shootings, we're not discussing all the individual shootings, all the individual violent crimes, all the individual murders, all the individual, shooting sprees in a drive-by in St. Louis. We're just discussing mass shootings. In the last 10 years, all of these mass shootings took place after the shooter first went through a background check or were not stopped by a background check. That includes February 2018, the Parkland, Florida shooter was not stopped by a background check. He was 17 years old and he did not legally have the firearm. He simply bypassed it and killed 17 people in that school in Parkland, Florida. November 5, 2017, the Sutherland Springs, Texas church massacre, where 26 people were killed and 20 more were wounded, happened after the shooter went through a background check. The shooting in Las Vegas, Nevada, October 1, 2017, 58 dead, 851 total wounded, passed a background check. Orlando, Florida, June 12, 2016, Omar Mateen, the Islamic terrorist, self-avowed, went through a background check, got a concealed carry permit, went through a 3-day waiting period to get his handguns, and still went into that nightclub in Orlando and killed 49 people after passing all of those checks. December 2, 2015, California office complex shooting, another Islamic terrorism motivated shooting involving a husband and wife team who went through a background check and legally purchased their firearms. 14 people died in that office complex in San Bernardino, California after the shooters went through a background check. Roseburg, Oregon Community College, October 1st, 2015, 9 died after the shooter passed a background check. Fort Hood, April 2, 2014, 3 people died after the shooter passed a background check. September 16, 2013, Washington Navy Yard shooting, 12 people died. The shooter, who bought an .870 shotgun, passed a background check. August 5, 2012, Oak Creek, Wisconsin, a Sikh temple where 6 people died after the shooter passed a background check. July 20, 2012, Aurora, Colorado, the movie theater shooting where 12 people died and scores were wounded after the shooter, Holmes, passed a background check. Tucson, Arizona, the shooting January 8, 2011, where Gabby Giffords, former congresswoman, was shot and wounded in the head. 6 people died after that individual, that madman, passed a background check. And last but not least, November 5, 2009, another Fort Hood shooting, this time being carried out by a U.S. Army major who converted to Islam and radicalized on the internet, shot and killed 14 people before being put down by a responding SWAT team after he clearly passed a background check and probably a whole lot of additional clearances as well. He was a U.S. Army major after all. 235 people dead. I'm not even counting the wounded. 235 people dead. Every one of these shootings involved cases where the shooter passed a background check. And as you'll see on these links are mainstream, for whatever that's good for, news outlets. This is not invented. These numbers are not made up. The facts are not made up. You can verify every single one of these on our website right now. A dozen or more shootings, 235 dead. Every single one of them passed a background check. So what the heck is going on? If they don't stop criminals, then why do the gun grabbers want to pass them so bad? That's the question you should be asking yourself right now, because the truth is, while these background checks are almost useless when it comes to stopping violent criminals, what they're great for is compiling the largest list of gun owners in this country. And we all know that gun registration is the first step towards eventual gun confiscation. Maybe not today, maybe not in 10 years, maybe not in 50 years. But if they have a list, we all know can be used against us, especially those of us in Missouri, where 2 times under the Obama administration, our entire CCW database, 173,000 names at that time, was given to the Obama DOJ as part of a quote-unquote ongoing criminal investigation. They were investigating Social Security fraud or something like that. And apparently the suspect pool included every single permit holder in the state. Every single one. Now, we have fixed that problem now by passing constitutional carry. So your permit is optional. If you want to get one, that's fine. But if you don't want to be in a government database, you don't have to, because we have constitutional carry. But universal background checks would get us back on a list and back into an area where well-intentioned, well-meaning gun owners who simply want to hand down family heirloom firearms, for example, if you don't go through a government check first, that'd be a felony offense. For just to give a family firearm to your son, your grandson, your granddaughter. If you wanted to loan a firearm to a buddy for deer opener, if you did not go through a government check first, then again, you would be a felon. You lose your gun rights for a lifetime. This is rife for abuse, and all it's going to do is create a huge database for the government of gun owners. And that's why gun owners should stand up and fight back and say no and hell no to any attempt to centralize these records. Again, we know now it doesn't stop violent crime. 235 people dead in over a dozen case studies in just the last decade. And that's, again, only the mass shootings. We're not discussing all the everyday situations where one person gets murdered, where one individual or two, get shot. This is just the mass shootings. So anybody who tells you from here on out, a lawmaker, a well-intentioned gun owner who perhaps is mistaken, a candidate for office or some Bloomberg-funded mouthpiece, that you and I, as gun owners, have to accept background checks, they are either deliberately lying to you to try to advance a radical partisan agenda or woefully ignorant of the facts. In either case, share this video with them so they know what's going on, and then take a moment to join the Missouri Firearms Coalition today on our website. It's www.missourifirearmscoalition.org, and get involved in this fight. Thank you very much, guys.